listening to Black Fawn Distro's Takeover Tuesday, the official podcast of Black Fawn Distribution, broadcasting live across the planet and retransmitted on all major streaming platforms. Tonight's program is brought to you in part by Wellington Brewery's Hellas Lager, Deadly Grounds Coffee, Twisted Teas, and of course Canada's #1 genre film company, Black Fawn Distribution. You wanted the best. Well, they didn't make it, so here's what you get.
It's really not that bad.
You are going to hell. Here's your host, Benner from Black Fawn Distro.
All right. How's everyone doing tonight? Welcome back to the program. As you just heard, my name's Benner. I'm the host of Black Fawn Distro's Takeover Tuesday. And we're broadcasting live to Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, and also retransmitting, of course, to all the major streaming platforms, including Apple and Spotify. Please remember to like, follow, share, and subscribe if on whatever platform you're following us on or listening to us on. And of course, it helps us out. I'll be honest, but it also helps out our awesome guests that come on the program and helps promote the projects that they're a part of as well, which is always super positive and something well worth doing. So we've got a great program for you tonight as we got Jason Rockman, who is the host of the Rockman Power Hour, a new podcast that's recently launched. But Rockman's got, that is his actual name too. That's his real name, Rockman. I know that's hard to believe. It's the coolest name ever. And he's like a rock star in his own right. He does a whole bunch of stuff and he's got a whole bunch of projects on the go, all of which are awesome. And you'll understand why as we kind of get into this interview and we get to the end of the hour. You're really going to understand kind of how much stuff this guy actually does and how much of it is worth checking out. So he's in the green room right now. If he's giving me the thumbs up, so that's awesome. He's ready to go. And you know what? Myself and Jason, we go back a few years, and I assure you, we're not going to run out of things to talk about, lots to go through, and so this is going to be a good one. Quick shout out to our sponsors as well, just on the top of the hour, Wellington Brewery's Hellas Lager, Deadly Grounds Coffee, as well as Twisted Teas. Thank you so much for your sponsorship. They're small businesses, and they work with us in partnership with us to kind of help promote the show. And also keep us going, keep us fueled, whether we're out on the road or during a pandemic or a lockdown. If we're at home, they still keep us going, and that's fantastic. If you're looking to pick up some of the Deadly Grounds coffee, we also have our Black Fawn distribution blend, Appetite for Caffeination, Sweet Toffee O' Mine, available in our online store. And I think it's still on sale. So as part of the Black Friday Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale. So if you're looking to pick some of that up, check it out in the store. So thanks again to our sponsors. We do appreciate your support. And of course, anyone out there, if you can check them out, that'd be great as well. Of course, as I mentioned, we've got Jason Rockman. He's in the studio and he's going to be chatting all kinds of stuff. It's going to be a good one. Stick around. But before we get there, we got to hit the news.
Top story. Top story. We'll give you the world. We'll give you the world. This may be the most important decision of your life. Can't stand the heat. Stay out of the kitchen. Any special message for all the kids watching at home? You can't stand the heat. Stay out of the kitchen.
Top story.
And remember, we care. We care. There are certain inherent risks that come with the territory. Top story. Top story. We'll give you the word.
Top story.
All right. This is the news segment, and this is our top story. We've got all the news right here. I'm just going to slide over so that box isn't over my head. But listen, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about, and we'll just make it quick. Of course, we want to get over to the interview with Rockman in a few minutes, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but some things to mention and to let you know about. First and foremost, we got to talk about the new Ghostbusters movie. I absolutely love this movie. I know a lot of people went to check it out opening weekend. It's done better than expected at the box office, which is great. It was delayed a few times, and it is just an absolute gem of a movie as far as I'm concerned. And take that however you want. Take that with a grain of salt, but it's certainly worth checking out. And also, they've tried so hard to kind of bring back some of the vibe of the Ghostbusters over the last few years, whether it's through cartoons or other live action projects. But this one actually does hit the mark as far as I'm concerned, and it feels like Steven Spielberg directing a Ghostbusters movie. So I know a lot of people say it's heavy on the nostalgia, but I think that's a good thing. I think which comedian was it? I'm not sure, but said, yeah, it's comforting, right? It's familiar, it's comforting, just like mac and cheese and mashed potatoes with gravy. It's a really decent flick, and definitely one worth checking out, especially over the holidays. If you're in the US, check it out over the Thanksgiving Day or the Cyber Monday week or whatever, or before Christmas. It's a great film for the whole family, and something that I think will resonate with a lot of people and fans of the series out there. Moving on, we just wanted to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Blood in the Snow Film Festival. Blood in the Snow just hosted their 10th year in Toronto. We were fortunate to have Peppergrass, which is one of our new acquisitions, play the festival, and actually won Best Poster Art at the film festival. And our sister company, Black Fawn Films, actually had Vicious Fun in the festival as well, which won Best Feature. So congrats to our crew over there, and a big shout out to Kelly and Kirk, Jen, who am I missing? Mel, their whole team over there at Blood in the Snow. They're fantastic individuals, and they run a really, really tight ship. And it's a all Canadian film festival. It really helps support up and coming filmmakers as well as established ones across Canada. And their new deal with Super Channel as well actually allows people across the country to check out their films as well. So make sure you check them out online, Blood in the Snow Film Festival, and follow them on Instagram if you can as well. They do host their film festival I think it's every November. I think sometimes it goes into December, but usually it's the end of each November. So make sure you check that out if you can. Now, I just wanted to we do a little segment with a physical media product, and I just wanted to take the time to review this movie, which is one of my favorites, True Romance. This is the 4K, another Arrow release as well. We don't want to get too we don't want to play favorites, of course, but this is an absolute beautiful box set. It looks like an old kind of like pulp kind of novel on the side. I don't know if you can see that, but fling this open, you get the original artwork there from the poster art, and quick unboxing as well. You get some postcards in here, which are replications of the lobby cards that were issued as part of the film back in the 90s. You get this sweet double-sided poster, which is pretty awesome. I won't fold it out on here just for time constraints. And you also get this awesome 60-page book, which features, of course, interviews and essays on the film. Definitely one of my personal favorite movies of all time. One of Tarantino's first that he wrote, and obviously directed by the late, great Tony Scott. If you're a fan of this film, you need to try and pick this up. It does cost a few bucks. I don't know if there'll be a US release or a North American release. This one came from England or the UK, but it's definitely worth picking up if you're a fan of this film. Great transfer, and it's 4K. I'm not going to talk too much about 4K because I got Rockman on the other side. We're going to dive into 4K because we're both big fans of it, and so we'll leave that for that. And moving on, we've got also quickly. The fried chicken sandwich report. Of course, this is the segment of the show where I go out every 2 weeks and I try a chicken sandwich and then tell you how good it is. And the last chicken sandwich that I had was tried a couple this week. We tried the new Subway sandwich. Not that great, about 2.5. What else did we try? We tried the A&W chubby chicken burger and the chubby chicken Buddy Burger, which is the smaller version, surprisingly better than the bigger version. And also there's one I'm forgetting, but we've got a top 10 ranking that I'm going to throw up on the screen just recently or in a few minutes. But I will say this, fried chicken sandwiches are delicious. They taste so damn good that I will eat them all the time. That was something I kind of did during the pandemic. I used to be kind of a cheeseburger guy, and I still am, but I really like fried chicken sandwiches now, which is, I don't really know how that happened, but it's here to stay. So this is what we do. Anyway, I went to St. Louis and tried their Southern chicken sandwich. And here's a photo of me right here eating it. Delicious shredded lettuce, some really nice Southwestern sauce that you can actually add on yourself. So you can balance out the heat or how much sauce you want on it. Really, really delicious sandwich. Of course, we judge these sandwiches by 3 categories. One is value, one is size, and the other is taste. But for this one, value, it's a little bit expensive because you're in a restaurant. So, but the taste is really, really good. Size is pretty adequate. So we're going to go 3.5 out of 5. We only rate stuff out of stars, just like we rate movies. But so St. Louis fried chicken sandwich, it is 3.5 out of 5. And of course, here is our top 10 ranking right now of the chicken sandwiches that we've tried, which is still number 1, Zinger Chick, which is the one I reviewed on the last episode of the program. Fantastic. And of course, Popeyes with the hottie chicken sandwich with from Megan Thee Stallion, that collaboration, which is pretty awesome. And then we got St. Louis ranking there at number 3, 3.5 stars, or I guess tied for second. And we do have a request to review Coco's Chicken in Guelph. We got that last episode, so that is on the docket. We are going to review Coco's Chicken on the next episode of Takeover Tuesday. Now, moving right along, if you have a suggestion for the show, or looking to get in touch with us, feel free to drop us a line at takeover@blackfawndistribution.com. So we've got now, if you got a recommendation for a chicken sandwich place too, please send that to us and we will do our best to check it out, as long as we don't have to fly halfway across the world to try it. But stranger things have happened, so just let us know. And last but not least, we've got let's do our intro to our guest. I love this guy. He's awesome. He's the host of the new podcast that just recently launched called the Rockman Power Hour. You can check it out on YouTube, as well as all the major podcast streaming platforms, including Apple and Spotify and all that fun stuff. Wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you get our podcast, make sure you subscribe and follow and check out the Rockman Power Hour. The first whack of episodes are now available online, and he's interviewed some awesome people already. It's insane, and we're going to get to that in a few minutes. But including, this is the list of people that he's already interviewed, is director Denis Villeneuve, who directed Dune, Blade Runner 2049, legend, John Taylor from Duran Duran, and also rock stars such as Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue and Zakk Wylde, just to name a few. So Jason Rockman is also the vocalist of Slaves on Dope and Kings of Quarantine. And listen, he's played Ozfest, he's launched a successful clothing label, he's done it all. So we figured we'd play the intro to the Rockman Power Hour just to give people a taste, and which features, believe it or not, members of Run DMC and Crazy Town in his intro track. Redonkulous. Anyway, check it out. We've got Jason Rockman, live on the other side, and we'll get to chatting with him right after this. All right, and we're back with Jason Rockman. Let's throw him up on the screen. Let's take him out of that green room. Hey, man.
How are you? How'd you get out of that blazer so quick? You're great.
You know what? I've watched a lot of Lady Gaga documentaries.
Right, so you can do costume changes quick.
So I can do the costume change. And
you just walk off, and you just go like this. And someone pulls, like 4 people pulling shit off.
Nobody can see it. There's actually there's a group of people over here that attend to all that stuff when I'm off camera. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, listen. Thanks for joining the show. And I know you're a busy guy, as I mentioned off the top. I mean, you have a ridiculous amount of stuff going on. I personally don't know how you fit it all in. So thanks when I called you up and said, hey man, do you want to come on the program? Like we can help promote the show, and like you'll help promote our show, and that'll be cool. And you were like, yeah, sure, man. Like, what time do you need? Like, can we do it end of November? And I was like, I don't even understand how you have time to do all this stuff. But like you've interviewed everyone. Like, I mean, even that intro video is like crazy. It's like Rob Halford and like Ice-T and like, just anyone and everyone. How did you're now doing it as your own podcast at the Rockman Power Hour? tell us about how that kind of came to be and
Well,
how you got that off the ground.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. And of course, when you messaged me and you asked me to come on, I mean, I'm going to say yes because I love hanging out with you. I love hanging out with anybody, anything to do with Black Fawn. I'm always excited about. My relationship with you guys and with this company goes way back to the early days with Chad. So I love you guys. I'm a fan to begin with. I'm a fan of all the stuff you guys put out. I'm a fan of all the physical releases. I've got most of them. So I'm down with, I'm down with this stuff. So I'm really excited to be able to come hang and to talk about stuff. So, so thanks for having me on. Listen, it's funny because, you were playing the intro and I'm so proud of that because that's just two of my friends that helped me out. And it sounds so douchey when you say it like that, but it really just is that. I mean, I became friends with DMC. And I asked him, hey man, I'm doing a podcast. I'd love to have you do the intro. He was like 100%. And, he's done intros for other things for me. I had a TV show for a while. He did that. Like D's just one of these guys. He's just a good dude. So I think when you have someone like him, who was so important to probably you and to me growing up, that is so humble and so not bullshit, it just kind of forces you to be the same way. So I just kind of like when you learn from people like that and you say, well, here's a guy that's a Grammy Award winner. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He literally messaged me when he got off stage with the Grammys and he did a performance with Aerosmith, like the second to last Grammys. And he got off stage and I was watching with my daughter and I texted him. I said, great job, D. My daughter loved it. He messaged me back and he was like, oh, that's so cute. Tell her I say hi. Like when someone like that takes the time to message you back, it just makes you realize that you should always be like that with everyone. Do you know what I mean? It's just being a good person. So I think that general attitude has helped me a lot in my life. It's helped me a lot just to be able to talk to interesting people. And when you have people in front of you that have been talked to a lot, it's important that, at least for me, that you make a connection, that there's a real connection that happens, that it's not just, you're not just a fucking talking head talking, spewing off questions that they've had asked to them a million times. I think it's important to establish some kind of a connection. So with that in mind, A, trying to be a good person, and B, trying to be an interesting interviewer that has interesting stuff to chat about in a conversation style or conversational style. It lends itself to you just getting better and better people that you end up chatting with, and I don't mean better in terms of them being, but I've had a chance to talk to some really fucking cool people. And I think it was a combination of being in the right place at the right time, saying yes to everything, and then eventually gaining the trust, because there are gatekeepers, as you know, in every business.
Right.
And there's gatekeepers when it comes to these people that they're not going to let you anywhere near them unless they trust you. So I think it's gaining trust. I think once in a while it's doing favors for publicists that, they might have someone that's not as popular that they want you to talk to, and you do that for them, and they help you out by giving you someone who's a little, like, it's just relationships, I think. But again, it all comes down to just being a good person. If you're a decent person, you can really accomplish a lot in life. But if you're, kindness goes a long way. Not being a bullshitter goes a long way. Just being straight up. So I think that's, you're asking me, how did all that come about? I mean, I've been really lucky my whole life that I've had a lot of really cool things come my way. But, at one point I have to say, okay, what part did I play in it? And I think the part I played in it was just being cool the whole time, not being a dick. And the situations where I was more of a dick, I probably didn't do as well as I would have done if I wouldn't have been a dick, but that's just part of growing up. So,
well, let's take a step back.
Yeah.
Maybe just a second, because we're going to talk about the Rockman Power Hour, because it's a fantastic show. For anyone who hasn't checked it out yet, you can just search it on YouTube. You can also search it on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. But really, it's a short and sweet radio program. Lots of stuff covered in it, and really cool guests. And I'm sure many more on the way. Like the first episode, I remember we dropped the first episode, and it was Denis Villeneuve, director of Dune, Rebecca Ferguson, who plays Lady Jessica from Dune, and then Bill from Macedon. And I was just like, that's one program. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, it was nuts.
And you got to launch, you got to jump in with a big splash on your first episode for sure. But, but I've checked out most of the episodes since then, because it's just something you can throw in the background. And like you said, you're just kind of listening to, it's just, you're just shooting the shit, right? You're just talking and chatting with somebody. It doesn't feel like it's like, this is an interview segment. It just feels more so like you could, two guys just talking in a room, or two people, sorry, talking in a room, just chatting it up, right? So
yeah, I think that's the whole point of that show is not for it to come across as an Entertainment Tonight or Need Talk kind of one of those kind of interviews, which is fine. There's something for everyone, but I just want it to be a cool conversation. I want it, if you were a fly on the wall, I would want people to say, I want to be a fly on the wall if they were chatting. You know what I mean? Because so many times I would post a picture and people were like, oh man, that must have been so cool to talk to Liam Gallagher, and they'd be like, I wish I was a fly on the wall to be able to see that or hear that. And you get to a point where it's like, well, if you can have conversations with these people and other people can enjoy them, why not? But I want them to be the kind of conversations I would have if I was in front of a camera and, or if I wasn't. And I really believe that like every conversation that I'll have on this show will be as authentic as it can be. It's going to be what you would hear outside of, outside of pressing record. It's pretty much what you would hear.
Right. And what's the, so let's take, like I mentioned, let's take a step back, because me and you have been friends for a few years. And, we used to see each other all the time when there was convention, like real in-person conventions going on, and travel wasn't as restrictive and that sort of stuff. But you've been like, you started Slaves on Dope when years ago, like almost 3 decades ago. Yeah. You've sort of, and also I should mention this as well. Like, I want to ask you where the Fountain of Youth is as well, because I watched one of the Slaves on Dope videos that was like 10 years old, and you look exactly the same. Like you haven't aged at all.
It's funny because my wife was, we went out for lunch today, and she's like, you're coughing a lot. You're like, you're clearing your throat. I'm like, well, I'm a little phlegmy. It's the winter, And then when we were finished, I had a little packet of those, like, those little gummy picks you pick your teeth with.
Yeah.
And I took it out and I'm picking my teeth. And she's like, what the fuck is happening to you? She's like, you're really like getting old, right? Like you're, but so, if you were to ask her, she'd tell you a different story. But I mean, I think a lot of it is just not drinking. Like I haven't drank it. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I guess in the last 10 years or so, 12 years now, almost, I stopped eating meat. And I know and I was watching you doing your chicken sandwich alert. Or chicken sandwich roundup, and I was going to say Pizza has a great vegan chicken sandwich that you should try.
Listen,
so and put that down on a list to review, because it might blow you away.
It can be called a chicken sandwich. I am totally into trying those. Yeah, I know. A while back, before I actually even started this program for Black Fawn Distro, was that I went around and tried all of the fake hamburgers, like the fake cheeseburgers.
What was your favorite?
The A&W was the best. It was so good that I was like, if you just gave me, if I said, go and get me a cheeseburger and you brought me that back, and I
Beyond Meat, the A&W Beyond Meat burger is, and it's funny because we were driving today and I saw A&W and I was like, oh yeah, I just saw an ad somewhere online that they're 2 for 1. I was like, we should stop and we should each get one. But I think a lot of it has to do with, eating well, trying to eat well, and not drinking. I mean, definitely not drinking, because alcohol is great if you can do it. I couldn't do it, and that's why I stopped. And it's been almost, it's 29 years. So I think that helps. I think that helps a lot.
Right. So did you quit drinking like 29 years ago?
I quit drinking when I was 21, and I've been sober consistently since then. So, gotcha. If you're asking, I mean, that probably helps the aging thing a little bit, I'm sure. Because if I was to drink the way I used to drink every day, I'm sure it'd look a little different,
Yeah.
I'd probably be pickling myself from the inside, and eventually it would work its way out. But I don't know. I guess good genes. My mom, my mom's 70 something, and some of my friends still think she's pretty hot.
Yeah.
Uncomfortably. It's like, what the fuck, dude? Why are you looking at my mom that way?
Shout out to moms everywhere.
Moms.
Well, listen, we got I actually don't know how you got, like, how your career sort of went. I know the broad strokes.
Yeah.
But obviously you were vocalist in Slaves on Dope. You still are.
Yeah.
But you got signed to Ozzy and Sharon Osbourne's record label. You played Ozfest. You traveled around the world, at least around North America. And then you kind of got into doing interviews. You were on the radio. And now you've kind of gone into, you have all these tendrils sort of out. You know, we'll get into all those projects if we have time. But how did you kind of gravitate towards music and movies to begin with? Like, is that something that was always part of you when you were growing up, and then you were like, let's start a band, or was that?
No, I mean, so when I was really, really young, I wanted to be an actor. That was my first thing. So I went into professional theater. I went to a professional theater program at Dawson. And it was a 3-year program. I did 2 years, but they made me redo my first year. After my first year in the program, they were like, look, we think you passed everything, but we really think you could have done a lot better. And, so we're asking you to redo your first year. And I was like, fuck, and at the time I was drinking and I was still using quite heavily. I did it. And then at the end of the year, it came time to my year end review. And I ended up getting the lead in my end of year play and the actor studio and all that. And it was great. And they were like, we're so proud of you. You really pulled your socks up. You've done a great job. And I remember clear as day, it was like Flashdance style, there's like the whole fucking review people in front of you, and you're sitting there and they're giving you all their thoughts on how you did. And I said, did I prove that I could work at your level? And have I done what you wanted me to do, was take a year of my life and redo it so you guys could be happy? They're like, absolutely. You're so ready for your second year. I'm like, no, I'm not. I quit. I walked out. Yeah. And I think back, and it's like one of the regrets I have, because I would have loved to have finished that program, but I ended up leaving. I did some theater at McGill. And then I discovered, like, I got into music. Someone heard me singing and they were like, you really should come and sing my band, like I had a cover band. And I went and jammed with these guys and I started singing. I always loved music. Like I was always a music fanatic, like ever since I'm a little kid, but I never thought I could sing. This one guy really, he's like, I think you could sing, man. I've heard you sing a little bit, and I think you could really be a good singer. So I ended up getting involved with these guys, and we started this band, and then I ended up sobering up, and I was just like, it was all around like 91 when things started changing. Like Jane's Addiction came out, Pearl Jam was coming out, music was really, really changing, and I was big into, like, the late 80s, early 90s was a real pivotal time for music. There's a lot that happened there. There was Living Colour. There was the Chili Peppers that were like starting to pop. There was Faith No More. There was a lot of bands that were really like genre defying, Fishbone, all before grunge. And they really kind of set the table, and Jane's Addiction were one of them. They set the table for the 90s. They really, really did. Because the 90s, like, there was no holds barred. So I was really getting involved with like music in terms of like just really listening to it from a different point of view. And I was big into Zeppelin, which obviously was older. And I don't know, these guys convinced me to start jamming with them, and I did it. And once I got onto a stage and started singing, and as opposed to theater where you had to learn lines and you had to, go to rehearsals and you had to do blocking and you had to do all this shit. And it was so fucking time, it was so labor intensive, and music was like, just go up and sing and you get fucking hammered and it's part of the show and it doesn't matter. And girls love people that go up on stage. And it was just like, this is awesome. I love it. And that was it. I just never looked back, and I did music, and I sobered up. And when I sobered up is when the guitar player that I was with at the time, we were in this other project, and we met these other 3 guys, and we went to Lollapalooza together.
Right.
The second Lollapalooza in 1992.
Was that was that the one that was like it's like the greatest lineup of all time? Is that the one with, like, it was Chili Peppers, Ministry? It was
Chili Peppers, Ministry, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Ice Cube. Yeah, I went to that one in Boston, and it was just fucking amazing, and it changed my life. It really did. It made me say, I want to do that. And we came back to Montreal and we formed Slaves on Dope. And at the time when I went, I remember I was like 6 days sober when I went. I'd just gotten sober. I'd just gone to my first AA meeting, and I was like, at the time, my sponsor, in AA, you get a sponsor, and my sponsor was like, you really shouldn't go to fucking Boston for this show. And I'm like, I'm not going to drink, man. I want to go to this fucking show. And I remember it was the first big test. And it made me realize early on that I could still be around alcohol, because my relationship with alcohol is different. I don't want to have it anymore, So, but it was really going to that show that changed everything. And then Slaves on Dope started. And, from like 93 to, I guess, 93, early 93 to like 98, late 98, we did the Canadian thing where we went across Canada a bunch of times, tried to get signed. No one wanted to fucking have anything to do with a band called Slaves on Dope in Canada, but we still did 10 cross Canadian tours. We toured with the Tea Party. We toured with Our Lady Peace. We toured with, fucking all those 90s bands, the Watchmen, Age of Electric, all of them, fucking every one of them. Conline Crush, we did tours with all those bands, and all those bands were just popping. But no labels wanted to take any kind of an interest or a risk on us. Nobody. We got so many fucking rejection letters. It was disgusting. I used to frame them. I laminate
Really,
them.
eh?
Yeah, and I used to laminate them and I put them in my bathroom. So
That's kind of like, I mean, I have some history in the Canadian music industry, as some people might know.
Yeah.
The Canadian music industry is a weird place.
Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, well, so let me tell you what happened. We moved to LA in 1999. And the minute we moved to LA, within 3 months, we were offered like 6 record deals. It was ridiculous. We were offered deal after deal. And we were like, it was crazy. It was just that geographical change that we needed. And we were in the right place at the right time.
Right.
New metal was happening. And we actually were about to sign a deal to Columbia. And Sharon Osbourne snaked us away. She fucking came to see us play. She knew we had a deal that was like about to be signed. And she came to see us in Vegas. And no, she saw us we were playing with that band Amen in Hollywood. And
great band.
Love Amen.
Yeah.
Sonny from Amen's one of my best buddies. And, we played that show and Sharon was there and she was like, "You guys are great." I was like, "Wow, thank you." And then we got wind from our manager. Sharon's flying out to Vegas to see you guys because we were playing with Papa Roach. And it was funny. It was us and Papa Roach. Before Papa Roach album came out, before they broke, and there was like 30 people in the club. There was nobody there. And Sharon was there. And she sat us down after and she said, "I'm signing you guys. I want you guys to be the first band signed to my label. And you guys are going to be doing the Ozfest." And we're like, "Okay, that's great." We're fucking like, and our manager was like, "So what about Columbia?" We're like, "Fuck Columbia. We're going with Sharon, man. Like we're fucking going to Ozzy's label. Like it doesn't matter. We just want to be with Ozzy." So we did that. And then everything changed, man. We did a record at A&M Studios in LA. And music started working for like, 3 or 4 years. It really worked well.
Mm-hmm.
But then obviously 9/11 happened. And when 9/11 happened, the music industry changed. Sharon lost her deal. We had to get another deal. We ended up signing to this label called Beeler Brothers. That was through MCA. It was an MCA subsidiary. MCA folded the week before our record came out. So it was just us on Beeler Brothers, which was an indie then. We started going to Europe and Europe started popping. And then we had all this interest in Europe. And I was just kind of done, man. I wanted to do something different. And it's hard when you want to do something different, but you're in something that's doing okay.
Right.
And you're just like,
there's no sort of like, there's not an exit that really makes sense.
So I had to create my own exit and I just quit. I got, my girlfriend at the time was pregnant. She called me when I was on the road and she's like, I'm pregnant. I was like, "Oh fuck." Okay. So I knew things were going to change. And I remember I was in Texas at the time on tour and, I had to, it was like, I didn't get home for like two months. I think it was another 2 months till I got back. And when I got back, I was having a kid, I was like, "Oh shit." So I got back that Christmas, we played a show in Montreal. And by mid-January, I'd gotten a job in Montreal. I got a job at Sunglass Hut. I was like, "I'm done. I got to fucking quit music." And I had to tell the guys. And I remember I like anything, I didn't handle it well. I didn't go and try to do it the right way. I was just sheepish about it. I didn't meet it head on. I was like kind of, ugh, and I got results. So the guys weren't happy. And it's hard, when I didn't talk to my guitar player for 3 years. We didn't chat at all. And we were best friends and we still are best friends. He lives 3 blocks from me. And I talked to him yesterday. I saw him on Saturday night when we did this Bob Dylan tribute thing. He was playing with somebody else, but we saw each other. Like he had a kid, like his kids comes by every day with his mom. Like we're really close, but we didn't talk for all that time because like typical fucking men who don't know how to share their emotions and be transparent, we didn't chat. We just went, and ignored and it didn't. Right. So, but what ended up happening was I got a foot out of music. I got to get some perspective. I got to go back and really look at where I was going. And I ended up going to work for my dad for a bit in transport. And I really, really saw what it was like to do something you don't want to do. And I did that for years, maybe 3 years. And at one point I was like, this just isn't me anymore. And I got a call from CTV and they were looking for someone that was to do commentary, like pop culture columnist, just chat about stuff. And I remember I went and I met with the anchor at the time, who's now the anchor at CTV News Channel. And he was a big nerd and he was just a big geek. And I remember the first segment that I did on CTV was for the Watchmen movie, and it went well. And then they started using me more, and it kind of gave me this confidence. I'm like, fuck, you can't just be this regular dude. Like, that's not who you are. You know, you have more things that you need to do. And it's kind of weird because I've always thought of myself as just this regular guy. Like, I don't think of myself as anybody, but you know, I'm just, you know, just a dude. But I knew that there was more things I needed to do. And there was this calling that I had. And I understand it more now being older. I'm a communicator. You know, I like to communicate. I like to have connections with people. That's what I enjoy the most. So I ended up getting a job at Shome. I did an audition. They were looking for somebody. It worked out. And I've been at Shome for like 12 years now. So that's kind of like the roundabout way things happen. But music, I've kind of gave myself a pause with music. And I'm glad I did, because I ended up realizing that there was a lot more to do. And a lot of people that do music don't get to do that because they're so fucking tunnel vision. This is all I'm going to do. This is all I'm going to do, that they never get a chance to do anything else. And I think it's unfortunate because there's a lot of musicians that could do a lot of other things successfully, but some people fucking ride it into the ground. And
yeah, I always find like I always say this too, is like I love it when bands kind of go away for 5 or 6 years and come back, because it's like they need that break, that creative break. And I think, I mean, it's the same thing with film, writing, anything like that, anything creative, where it's like, if you can't, you know, a lot of writers will say that too, right? They'll say, well, you get writer's block, you just go and do something else, you come back to it later, fresh set of eyes, and maybe you read what you wrote before, and it's just like, well, this is crap, let's start over. Or maybe there's something there and I can see it now. So that's interesting. I had a quick follow-up question. Do you think you might actually go back to any sort of acting or theater or finish what you started years ago, or no?
I got offered a role in a movie, this movie called The Demolisher.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. We know the director.
I know you do. And he offered me a small role, and I kept bugging him that I wanted to do something. And I didn't get time off from work, and they weren't, and it seemed like it was going to be a problem. So I said, listen, I don't think I can do it. And I kind of backed out at the last minute, and I regretted it, because then the movie went on to, you know, go to Fantasia. I think it did really well at Fantasia. I think it got an audience award and all that. And the director was a buddy of mine.
What role did you?
I think I was one of the mechanics that gets his head bashed in.
Okay.
And he had told me he had like my head cast, and like he was ready to like. So I've always said to him, like, because, you know, Gabe's one of the guys I know who's a director. And I know he does his own projects, and I always said, man, dude, like anything, I want to do it. Like, I really, really want to do it. So yes, there is the problem I have with acting now is that I had an agent for a while. And I went on auditions, and I didn't become ACTRA, and I could have gotten in on professional consideration. Like they would have fast tracked me. I would have had to pay or something just to become ACTRA. But
right.
I just didn't like the idea of auditioning. And maybe it's because I'm being a bit of a fucking prima donna or a baby, but I just couldn't see myself going and auditioning because I didn't want it that bad. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But if someone put me in a role, I would fucking give everything to it. Like I would like everything. I would be like fucking fully focused, because that's how I am. And my wife will tell you, like, when I'm fucking focused on something, that's it, dude. Like, it's like, I don't see anything else. So if I did it, I would do it to the end of the earth, but I couldn't sit there and go, okay, well, we're auditioning for a commercial for a biker, and then walk in with like, you know, 5 to 20 bald biker guys. Like, I'm like, oh fuck, this is cheesy. So I did that a bit, and I was like, ugh. But if it's a creator owned project, or if it's like, you know, like if it's something that's a startup thing and it's indie, and I'm convinced that one day it'll happen. But yeah, I mean, that was my first passion, and I love film. I love film, as you know.
I wanted to ask you what role it was for the Demolisher, because I'm in the Demolisher, and which is
who are
a
you
fun
in the
fact.
Demolisher?
So I'm the pawn shop owner.
Oh shit, that's true.
So I get a call. So I was just like, oh man, I was like, that'd be. I didn't actually know that. So I was like, how funny would that be? So I remember I got a call from somebody else who's supposed to play that role.
Right.
And Gabe called me. I was at work, and he's like, dude. He's like, what are you doing at 6 p.m. tonight? I was like, I don't know, getting off work. And he's like, can you come down and be the pawn shop owner at the Demolisher? And I was like, yeah, sure. I'll just come straight down from there. Right. So, But yeah, I'm glad I didn't take the role that you were supposed to get, because that would have been pretty funny.
Well, I would have been. I mean, it would have been happy because honestly, man, like, and I love Gabe. Like I think he's a super talented dude. I'm a big fan of everything he does. I think he's a great musician too. I mean, he's really humble. You know, he's not one of these guys that's out there trying to get a bunch of attention for himself. He just wants to do good work. So, but yeah, no, I definitely want to do something. I definitely want to do something one day again. I loved acting back in the day. You know, like I loved it when I was doing it. I really did. I love theater, and it's something that I could see myself doing one day. I mean, I did a little bit of it, when I quit the band, but it was very small, very, very small stuff. Like it wasn't really anything. I didn't really commit to it, but it's kind of like when I quit music, people were like, well, you should be a wedding singer. I mean, fuck, you can make so much money in the weekends and still sing and still do your craft and not have to. And man, I fucking went to like 3 wedding band rehearsals. And like, if I was going to sing Celebration one more time, I would have blown my brains out. Like, fuck that. I'm not going to do that. So I don't know, man. I think, like, you know, if Black Fawn Films messaged me and they were like, hey, we need you somewhere on set, I'd be there in a minute.
Dude, we'll keep you in mind, man. Yeah, I'll pass it on.
No,
but I'm sure
honestly,
Chad's going to listen to this episode. So
I think that's another guy that's just so fucking talented, you know, and you guys have been knocking it out of the park. Like the last couple of things I've seen, like Vicious Fun and the Oak Room, were just so fucking good. So,
well, thanks, man.
But it's fun. I love the idea of doing fun things and new things. And like with music now, my attitude with music now, it's got to be fun and it's got to be stress-free.
Gotcha.
You know, because my problem, like I mentioned, once I get involved with the project, I'm so into it that I don't see anything else. And with music, it's like that. You know, if I put out original music and I'm pushing it and I'm like, I want it to do well, I want it to succeed, you know? And if it doesn't, I'm fucking gutted. So I love doing music where, like I have a music project with Ron English, and Ron's Ron's like, they call him the godfather of street art. And he has a project called The Rabbits with 3 Bs. He sends me lyrics and there's a somewhat loose vocal melody, and he's like, do what you want over it. And I'll do it. And I make it come to life. I play this character called Punk Skunk, and I do it. And I love it because it's fun. It's stress-free. There's no pressure. And I send him stuff. He approves. If he doesn't, I go back and I try it again. But he's super encouraging. And I think for him, it's just art. And I like the idea that everything I do artistically now is just art. It's not work. It's art, you know? Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, that's a bit of a bohemian way to think if you want to pay bills, but I have a job that pays bills, you know? So when it comes to the music part or anything like that, I did this the other day. I did this Bob Dylan tribute. I was part of this Bob Dylan tribute thing in Montreal with a bunch of Montreal musicians. It was a really, really cool thing that was put together by one of the hosts on TSN. And it was to celebrate Dylan's 80th anniversary. So he asked me to sing Maggie's Farm, awesome. the Rage Against the Machine version. So I went up and I did that, and it was so much fun. And I found out after, he's like, everybody's getting paid, so just send us your receipt, you know, or your address, and we'll send you. And I was like, donate mine to Share the Warmth, which is like a food depot here. And I was like, I don't need it. It's fine. Like I didn't do it for that. You know what I mean? I did it just to do it. So I kind of like that idea behind it, you know, like it's not pressure. It's just fun.
Yeah. And that's, so speaking of like new things, fun things, Rockman Power Hour, like, so how does all the stuff you were just talking about? Yeah. This is all kind of culminated into this new podcast, this new program. Much. Again, it's on YouTube. Make sure you go check it out, and also on an Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So follow that stuff. Rockman Power Hour. So all this stuff kind of comes together. How does that happen? And I know we've talked off the air before about a little bit before we jumped on here. Yeah. But you know, it was kind of a work in progress. It was something you wanted to do long term, and when to launch it. Pandemic happens, blah blah blah. Everyone knows that story. But how does all this stuff how do all these pieces fit together? And
well, Power Hour was something that it's funny because we did this other thing called the Rockman Power Hour maybe 7 years ago, and it was skits. It was like goofy skits where we were, you know, I would do these rants. I would do these different characters. I played the Silver Surfer, and he was like a stoner surfer that was like, whoa, dude. Like we did all these crazy skits, and it was really fun. We did Tex Luthor, who was like Lex Luthor, but he was from Texas, and he was like racist, and he hated illegal aliens, Superman, because he was an alien. He was illegal.
Right.
Goddamn illegal aliens come from the sky. And so we did all these fun skits, and they were called the Rockman Power Hour, but it lasted maybe 4 episodes, and it was just this goofy thing. So we had this name, but we loved it. And I wanted to do a podcast. I've been wanting to do a podcast ever since I met my wife. We talked about doing one for 12 years. And at one point I was like, I've been doing all this content for Show'em and for iHeart, and it's where I work, and I love working with them, but the idea of having a longer format, sorry, my dog's barking, a longer format interview, is appealing, because when you do something usually for radio or for a corporation like that, they're like, 7-8 minutes, but I wanted to be able to chat like as long as I had to go. And right. I was really, really lucky to get the chance to do that a few times, but I would bring the interviews and they'd say, well, we got to cut that down to like 10 minutes. And I'd be like, but all the good stuff, you're going to miss all the good stuff. So the podcast format is really, you can do whatever you want. If somebody swears, it's okay. If you go a little lot longer, like one episode's 47 minutes and the next episode's an hour and 27 minutes, it's fine. So I like the idea of it all being whatever you want it to be. You know what I mean? Right. And not being, I had this one person that I worked for that I had the show on CJAD, which is a talk station here in Montreal. And I did it for about 2.5 years, and it was called On the Record. And I would grab public figures. Hang on a minute. I would grab public figures and we would talk about music, their journey in music, the first album they listened to, the first band they went to see, first album they bought. Like there's a series of questions, and we would talk all around that, and we would play music. It was like a 2-hour show. And I had some really cool guests on that show. And I did it for about 2.5 years, maybe. And then I started building this house with my wife, and I just had no time to do it. But the most frustrating thing about it was that it was on AM radio, and it played at 2:00 on Sunday, and maybe it would re-air, or, it would air a second time sometimes. But it was frustrating because the episodes are never loaded up online after. It was just like, if you heard it, you heard it. If you didn't, you didn't. And the biggest complaint I got, people were saying to me, why aren't you putting these up online? Where can I hear all your interviews? And they were kind of gone in the ether, So I was like, man, it would be really nice to have all this body of work that you've built up in one place, so people can go back and listen to it again. And the podcast format is perfect for that, because your podcasts are always going to be up on YouTube. They're always going to be there. So I had to, at one point, start my own thing. And I said, well, why don't we call it Rockman Power Hour? That's a great name. It fits with what we're doing. And it just all fell into place. It was just like, this is going to be the name of the show. This is going to work. And now it's just a matter of getting content every Friday. So that's the challenge. And it's also, hoping people give a shit, like anything you do, you do it and you're like, so that's where it really gets down to, what's your intention? Is your intention to do it because you want praise and you want people to go, this is amazing, and you want to be popular and you want to be able to sell advertising? Or is your intention, you want to do it because you want to have good conversations? And I have to force myself to remember that's what it's about. It's about having a connection. It's about being able, getting off the call and being on a high because you had such a great conversation. And that's how it's been. It's just the back end shit that I hate, but that's the necessary evil. I mean, you have to do that. Otherwise,
that goes back to you loving like acting, but not wanting to do the auditions.
Not wanting to do the auditions. And it's stupid because in my mind, I'm like, well, who the fuck are you to tell me that I can't do that? I know I can fucking do that. Mm-hmm. Like, I know I can do it as well as anybody in this room. And it sounds arrogant, but I know I can. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here wasting your time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then it's the gatekeeper shit where, well, we're going to decide. And it's like, no, you're not going to decide. Fuck you. I'm just not going to do it. And that's the problem. I have a bad attitude. So thank you. After this exercise has made me realize I need to change my fucking attitude. No, I think
which is a perfect attitude to have if you're the lead vocalist for a metal band, of course. But
yeah, but even so, man, listen, honestly, man, like I don't care anymore about, do I care about success? Yes, I do care about success because I want people to hear what I'm doing. Because of course. But it's like anything. You just everything takes work. Everything takes time. It's consistency. It's doing everything professionally. It's all that. But it's starting something new is really, it's terrifying. It's because it's me on my own. I've got partners, but I mean, you guys know, you run your own thing. I mean, it's not easy to do your own thing, and it takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of, suiting up, showing up, doing the best you can, and hoping people care. But at the end of the day, the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to talk to you. Like, that's the fun part of it. It's like we're chatting. You know what I mean?
We were joking about when we were talking about setting up this episode, and I remember we were just chatting about. I had called you and said, "Okay, so here's the basis of the show and stuff like that. Here's what we can do, and just the format, just so you weren't going in blind." And we ended up. I remember you saying, "Dude, it's like we've been on the phone for like 50 minutes. Like we're gonna have no problem filling up an hour talking. Hey, what have you picked up? Like physical media, this and then whatever." And so we always get to chatting, and you always call me too. Like I remember there was one time where I messaged you about something. I can't even remember what it was. And you're like, "Dude, are you around?" And I was like, yeah, I'm just sitting around. And you called me and you're like, "Let's talk about this." And we just ended up talking about movies.
Yeah. Cause I fucking hate texting. Like everybody does it, right? Everybody texts but I my kids can't stand it because I FaceTime them all the time. Well, because I like to see them, because they're not with me all the time. They're with me like half. So, and I like to FaceTime them every day and chat with them, but I'm notorious for FaceTiming or for calling because I like to talk to someone. I like to see them. I like to chat with them. I like to hear their voice. Like to me that, and it's so much quicker because sometimes your intention through text will get lost or through an email. My dog is amazing, by the way. She's 7 months old and she fucking kicks the fucking door open when she comes back in. Like she just kicks it open. My wife and I will be sitting on the couch and we got this new puppy and she just like, I don't know where the fuck she's from. I mean, I know where she's from. She's from James Bay, but this dog is crazy. She just kicked the door open again. Almost scared the shit out of me. Sorry.
She wants in on this podcast. She wants in
on the podcast.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to put you on the spot because we do a little thing called rapid fire and I have to get it in because I did a lot of work on this one because I knew you were coming on and I wanted to put you on the spot and flip the tables on you, so to speak. So let's just get to rapid fire. Of course, I have to give our sponsors a quick shout out. So I got to reach back here, grab one of these Wellington breweries, Hell's Lager. I got to open this up. I mean, it's just what we do to keep the lights on. Delicious, kind of my halftime as well. But Wellington Breweries is they are located in Guelph. They're one of the oldest microbreweries in all of Canada. You can actually swing by their retail store in Guelph, or you can obviously pick up some tins of your favorite brand. Mine is Hellas Lager, Hells yeah. And you can pick it up at the LCBO or wherever you pick up your adult beverages. So I know that's a beer sponsorship. And I knew that you wouldn't be interested in that. Fair enough. So I thought I would do the extra mile and give you a rapid fire that is all Dune based.
Okay. Oh, shit.
So instead of 5 random questions, you're going to get 5 random questions about Dune. Okay. We talked about it at length. Of course, the new film came out this past October. We both big fans of it. And of course, if you want to see the episode with Denis Villeneuve and Rebecca Ferguson, Rockman Power Hour, episode number 1, check it out on YouTube because you interview both of those lovely people. And it's definitely worth checking out. So anyway, all right. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Go for it.
Okay. So yes or no, now that Dune has a super cool adaptation, is it fair to say that Dune is now better than most of the Star Wars trilogies?
Oh God. Not yet. Not fair. Can't say it yet. Can't say that yet.
Okay.
I can't. I love Dune, but I can't say it's there yet. Got to see a second one.
So we're gonna. So it's a. We'll take it as a no, but
take it as a no
with an asterisk.
With an asterisk.
Asterisk
to be determined after number 2.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so you got to pick one. Next question, you got to pick one. Who you're a boxer. You've done boxing as well. Who wins in a boxing match between Josh Brolin's Gurney Halleck or Patrick Stewart's Gurney Halleck?
Josh Brolin buries him.
Buries him? No questions asked?
Buries him.
What if that little dog is a distraction?
Buries him.
Okay, fair enough. Rapid fire. Question number 3. Help us out. Dune's got some weird stuff in it. Do you have a weird snack that you enjoy while watching movies?
Oh, peanut butter, bananas, and toast with maple syrup on top. Is that weird?
Yeah, it's weird for me because I hate bananas. So
okay, there you go.
Fair enough. Rapid fire. Question number 4. What do you want? One casting for Dune that hasn't been announced yet for part 2 is obviously the character of Fade. And I don't actually, maybe you can clear this up. I don't know if it's Harkonnen or Harkonnen. I always said Harkonnen. Harkonnen, right?
Yeah.
So Fade Harkonnen hasn't
Yeah.
been cast. Of course, for those of you who don't know out there, that was the role that Sting played. The musician Sting, not the wrestler Sting, but played in the original 1984 Dune David Lynch adaptation. Who would you like to see step into that role?
Harry Styles.
Really? No questions?
No questions asked. He's a beautiful boy, and he'd be great.
And how come? Because he's a musician as well, too, or just because?
Nah, I just think he fits it. Perfect.
Okay. All right.
I could see him oiled up in the loincloth. He'd be great.
I know, like that after. What's that thing? Like
loincloth. I don't know. I've got a pop figure of it. I mean, I don't know what it is, but it's loiny. It's oily and it's loiny.
I talked to someone who said, "Why don't they just cast Sting again? Like a Sting."
I mean, he looks probably as good as he did back then. Freaking
right. Okay, fair enough. We didn't tell you these questions beforehand either, so you just know this stuff. This is how much
Harry Styles. Dune.
Last question, rapid fire. Question number 5. Tell us more. Who is a talent from Dune that you haven't interviewed yet, but you would like to in the future, and why?
Oh God. Well, Josh, you said Josh Brolin. He's someone I'd love to chat with. 100%. Dave Bautista, haven't chatted with him. Love to chat with Dave, another guy who I find would be really interesting. But Brolin, I think, there were so many great actors in that movie, and there's so many of them that there's actually very few in that. And it's funny because a lot of times when you talk to people from studios, certain people that have worked with certain studios, you've chatted with them before because they've worked, like, Vera Farmiga. I've talked to Vera Farmiga about 3 or 4 times because she's been in a lot of Warner stuff. So that was one of the ones where, I mean, yes, I have talked to Jason Momoa several times. So I've interviewed Momoa. But Josh Brolin, hands down. I would love to chat with Josh Brolin because he's done so much fucking shit that I love.
Yeah.
So
and an amazing actor.
Amazing actor. A real philanthropist, just a really, really cool dude. And I know a lot of people that know him that say he's really cool, like a really great guy. So.
And it's funny too. It's like, I think I mentioned this in the program before, but I only had one experience of Jason Momoa. I know I didn't get one of those, like the couples shots that you do at Comic-Con. I don't know if you've seen that, where he's like, he's like picking up the girls and he's like pushing the guys away. Not that, but I was we were at Fan Expo, and we had that Black Fawn bar and sitting there just doing our thing, and Jason Momoa walked by, and he was after he'd done Game of Thrones, but before Aquaman had come out. Yeah. So he was just walking around like he'd never be able to do that now. No. And I remember, like, I saw him walk by, and I pointed at him, not directly at him. Like I thought his back was kind of towards me, and I pointed, I said, "Huh." I go, "That's Jason Momoa." And he heard me, and he turned around and he gave me like the surfer hand, and he was just like, "What's up, brother?" And I was like, "Ah." So, but I heard that guy's a super cool guy.
He's very nice. He's super cool. He's very nice. He's kind to everybody that he meets, and he's man, I met him really early on. Really early on, before, God, I think he just finished Game of Thrones. So I met him quite a few years ago in Montreal, and he was just great. Awesome.
Well, listen, that does it for our rapid fire section. Thanks for being such a good sport about that.
Yeah. No
but I figured I'd put up Dune spin. It was either a Dune spin or a Mad Max spin. I wasn't sure which one you would gravitate towards, but because of the tie into the show, again, brought to you by Wellington Brewery's Hellas Lager. They sponsor us, help us keep the lights on, help us keep us fueled up on the road as well as at home. And also, of course, if you want to check out the interviews that Jason's done with the cast, the director of Dune, Denis Villeneuve, as well as Rebecca Ferguson, check out Rockman Power Hour, which is episode number 1 on YouTube, as well as Spotify and Apple. So listen, we're going to take a quick commercial break. I gotta do some general self-promotion, because that's what we do here at Black Fawn. And then after the break, let's talk about maybe some stuff to do with RIPGOAT and Comic-Con.
Cool.
Okay. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Black Fawn Distro. Movies, merchandise, available now at blackfawndistribution.com.
All right, and we're back, and I just want to give a quick shout out to the people who provided the music for tonight's episode. Of course, our kick-ass intro theme, which still needs a name. If anyone wants to give our intro track a name, hit us up on Instagram or whatever. But it was produced by written by Derek Princecox, friend of the show. You can check him out at facebook.com/The Walk Show and at The Walk Show on Instagram. Of course, Ben Living did our news segment Beats, which are super awesome. And I don't know if you can guess the movie from that, but keep it to yourself. Tell me after. But we did include some samples in there that should be pretty fun. And also, as well, just that commercial music provided by Fox Grinder. You can catch them on Instagram and Facebook as well. So big thanks out to the musicians, of course, out there. They kind of did us a solid and were able to provide some really cool tunes. And I think it's up the production value. We're into phase 2 of the Takeover Tuesday. It's they've all got music that you can get online. They've got some free tracks you can download as well. And of course, Derek has his own podcast called The Walk Show. Make sure you check that out as well. He does a lot of interviews with musicians and indie bands and that sort of thing from around Southern Ontario and beyond. So check him out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. But let's jump back in here. I know you had a hard out. You gave me a hard out time, but also as well that we were like, we're going to go over an hour for sure. So we're in overtime now. Thanks a lot for sticking around. Of course, let's talk about merchandise, because I just did a shameless self-promotional plug commercial there for everyone to check out our stuff at blackfawndistribution.com/store. But you're also half of RIPGOAT Clothing.
Yeah.
I'm wearing this hat right now.
I noticed. Very nice.
Which is banging, by the way. I love this hat. I wear it all the time. And tell us about that, because you've been doing that for a couple of years now too. And I know that we've sent you a bunch of money, because I remember I talked to Chad once and he goes, no, was it Chad? No, I talked to Chad, I think, and as well as G. And they were just like, well, I don't know. They're like, half my paycheck goes to Jason Rockman now, because like they always put on a new t-shirt and I'm sitting at home, got nothing to do. So yeah, I'll order the Lemmy shirt. And I'm the same way, because you were like, you always post stuff online that you're like, everything I buy from you is like limited edition. Like you're like, we're doing these hats. There's only like, there's only a few of them. And I bought a hat. And then you posted something saying, I've only got large windbreakers left. I've only got this one large windbreaker. And I was like, dude, I need that in my life. So I ordered it. But talk to us about, you've got all this other shit going on. You got this, and now you also have the successful clothing company as well that you run with a partner. What's the deal?
So my friend Rob and I, he's also the bass player in Slaves on Dope. We for years we wanted to start a clothing company. He had started one years ago, and that's how we kind of first met. We met, and he gave me a couple of shirts to wear on CTV, and we kind of became friends. And then he auditioned for Slaves on Dope. The first time around, when we were looking for a new bass player, we ended up going with somebody else. And then when that guy left, when Seb left, we got Rob came and joined the band. And Rob and I, like, we have a lot of similar interests, and he's really a great designer. Rob's like the whole brains behind the designs, like we'll discuss who we want to do. And the whole idea of RIPGOAT is, it's the acronym is, rest in peace, greatest of all time. So we'll take fallen heroes, people have passed away, that have been really popular in pop culture, and we'll do a shirt on them. Obviously we do, they have a certain look. They'll be black and white. Their eyes will be whited out. And it's just been something that we've really been having a lot of fun with. And we just started off with, let's just do a pre-order on a shirt and see how it does, and our first shirt was Freddie Mercury, I believe. And it went like gangbusters. So no, our first shirt was a goat with the logo. And then we did Freddie Mercury. And then it was just like a little, I'll always tell people, they'll be like, well, what's RIPGOAT like to you? And I'll tell them, well, it's kind of like some guys go and play pickup hockey. They'll have a beer league. They'll have a softball team. Well, RIPGOAT's like my extracurricular activity. It's just a fun thing that Rob and I do. When we feel like dropping a shirt, we'll do it. There's a little bit more stuff. It's a little more involved than just that, and it got to a point where we were doing a lot. Like we were putting out a shirt every week we were dropping a new shirt, and it was crazy. So it was a lot of fun. And we've put out a lot of stuff in the last 3 years. So it's been a lot of fun. My wife, Julia, got involved in the last year and a half. She helps us out a little bit on the back end. But it's something that's another labor of love, and that I really, really enjoy. Like I love the idea of making merch, because for me, it's always, like someone sends you a t-shirt, and when it's not on a great shirt, you're like, I'm not stoked to wear it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I always want to try to make sure that stuff is on good shirts, that the stuff is good quality, and that people enjoy wearing it. And that's what makes me really happy is when like a couple weeks ago, we did Ottawa Comiccon. We did the holiday edition at Ottawa Comiccon, and we set up for the first time at a con.
I saw that.
Yeah. We're doing it again this weekend in Montreal. And it was really satisfying to see all the shirts, the ones we had left over, up on the wall like that, and have people come by and go, wow, we had a sign and everything. It was like, oh shit, because usually we're just an online business. We've never been set up. Sorry, my dog we brought home a piece of pita bread from lunch, and the dog was just freaking out over that. So we were never able to really have all our stuff in one spot. So to be able to see it like that was really, really cool. But it's just like an online business that people really, really enjoy. And, we've had some really cool people wear it. Like George Strombo was really into the brand for a while, and he was wearing the stuff. We've had a lot of really cool musicians that have grabbed it and worn it. And it's just a fun thing. It's a super fun thing to do. And it's just a hobby, but it's a fun little hobby to have, and it's fun. Like when I would see orders coming from you guys, I was like, oh, cool. The guys are digging it, So it's fun to see, people support it, and at the same time really be excited and like, oh, you should do this person next. And like, someone will die and they'll be like, you should do this shirt. I'm like, whoa, like, we usually like to give it a bit of time. We don't like to put it up the next day because it's kind of like tasteless. But the reality is that there's a lot of people that want a shirt from someone that they really like or that have passed away, and there's just no merch for them. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like one of these things where, but then again, because of licensing and all that, we try to do stuff really, really limited, and we're in and out. We're not putting stuff up in Hot Topic and in Journeys and stuff. Like we want it to be limited. We want it to be like, if you got it, when you got it, you got it, and if you have it, you're lucky to have it because we're not pressing it again. That kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Comic-Con. So both Montreal Comic-Con and, well, I know there's a whole series. Is it Montreal Comic-Con and Ottawa Comic-Con?
So our group have Montreal, Ottawa, Quebec, and Winnipeg Comic-Con.
Right.
So we just had our first edition in Winnipeg, and it was brilliant. We had it over Halloween weekend, and it was just great. So wow, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
So we've just been we've been really, really lucky to have like a lot of support in all these markets, and obviously started with Montreal like almost 12 years ago now, and or almost 13, I guess. And it just, I kind of got involved with it from its infancy. One of the first shows I went, and I wrote an article for a local paper that I was writing for at the time, and then my relationship just grew, and then it was like, well, you should be our spokesperson. And then they started Ottawa, and I was the Ottawa spokesperson. And I just kind of kept going, and I love it because I'm promoting an event that I really believe in. Like these cons, as you know, any show like that, it just brings joy to people. There's nothing negative about it. It just, Comic-Cons are a place where people really get to celebrate. They get to be with like-minded people that feel the same way they do about something. Like if you work in an office and you're super passionate about Game of Thrones, but everybody in your office is like, the fuck do you care about that? And you're like, well, no, man, I cosplay as like Drago and stuff. And people are like, fuck's wrong with you? But if you go to a Comic-Con, you'll meet people that are the same as you, and it's nice. And you see people that it's like a con family. Like they see each other, once a year at this convention, and it's a lot of fun. And people that travel and do conventions, as you guys know, it's just a great vibe,
We just did. Yeah. We just went down to Frightmare in the Falls.
I saw that.
Niagara Falls. And it was so awesome to see everybody again in an environment that was just like, hey, cool, let's hang and let's go, it was like, you just realize how much you miss it. And
the
one thing, nobody wants to talk about the pandemic anymore. I know, Omicron or whatever the fuck it's called is coming out, but like the new edition, but it's just, but at the same time, I think, not discounting anything, but that's happened to people. It's been tough on a lot of people for sure, in various reasons, but I do feel it's allowed people to realize kind of what things meant to them before.
100%.
And coming back, and kind of like what we were talking about earlier about, taking that break. Like for me, because I think, as well, like, I can talk from our perspective, is that once you do it from a while, and I'm sure you can relate to this from being in a band on the road for so many years, is like, you get grinded down a bit. Yeah. And you're not as like bright-eyed, bushy tailed on the 18th show as you were on the second.
Yeah.
And, but I thought, like, it was great for us to have a rest. We kind of built out some other stuff and then got right back into it. And it was really, really great to see everyone and the guests and the showrunners and that sort of stuff too. Right. So we're excited to come back at some point to Montreal Comic-Con because we want to get back up there.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah, man. I remember the first couple of times you guys came, and it was really fun. And the shows are fun. And I'm glad, because this year, we have our small holiday editions that we're finally able to do in person, and our new, our 2023 editions are coming next year, and we're excited about that, man. We're super stoked. We're super, super stoked.
Well, we're going to try and get up there, at least at the minimum, Ottawa, probably Montreal as well, because it'd be great to come back to the city. We've got so many friends in Montreal that we haven't seen.
I should say
forever.
20. I said 2020. I meant 2022.
Right. Sorry.
I don't even remember what year we're talking
Yeah.
about.
See you in 18 months, man.
Yeah, but our show is going to be happening. All our shows are on point to happen in next year, which is going to be phenomenal.
Perfect. Yeah.
Because and it was funny because we did Quebec, and Quebec was the first one that we had done. It was like literally we did the Quebec Comiccon. It was the day after the Quebec government announced that you could have events in convention centers with no capacity. So I was like, wow. And just the vibe in the room was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're masked up. You got all this shit. You got to wash your hands. Regardless, it did a lot of good for people. Again, going back to why these events are important. So that's why I'm involved with them. Dude,
and you know what? I'm going to tell you this right now. It's kind of the same thing like riding public transit. Like I can tell you from working a bunch of cons, like at a booth all weekend.
Yeah.
Some days, like 3 or 4 days, like whatever is going around the convention center, you have it by the end of it.
Yeah.
And so I'm hopeful that I'm hopeful that maybe I don't get that anymore.
Yeah.
So
well,
we'll see.
I tell you, man, you wear masks all the time. They're saying, my dog's really excited. They're saying that when you wear masks all the time now, that the idea of getting sick is just, it's going away. I mean, like the flu and colds and all that, like nobody's getting sick. So
yeah. That's a good, I don't get the cold anymore.
And that's what, I went and got a flu shot yesterday because I got it last year and it was great. I didn't get sick. And I got it again this year. And the guy was telling me like, that's the thing with the flu shot. Like we're telling people to get it even more this year because nobody's been getting sick because we've been wearing masks, but our immunity's low.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we're, it's like kind of like antibacterial soap. This is the best thing.
Well, it's funny too, because I thought as well, like, so I started getting the flu shot, and before I never used to get it because I was younger and I was like, I don't really need it. I thought it was just for like, realistically, I just thought it was old people need the flu shot. They can't afford to get the flu. And then the older I got, the more informed I got about it. And I was like, because I still got buddies that are like, oh, well, it's only 20% successful some years, and some years it's 70%. Like it's a best guess. Like they don't really know what they're doing. And I'm still like, yeah, but I don't have time to get the flu. Like I don't have time to.
I know. That's the thing. Like I don't have exactly like you're saying. I do not have time to fucking get sick at all.
Yeah.
I
can't do it. And the last couple of times I've had it too, and I don't know if this is, whatever, but it's been really bad. And I think that's probably because I'm a bit older now and whatever, but it's like, you're laid out, man. You can't do anything. And you just feel like shit anyway. So
yeah.
It's like, even if it's like a 20% chance, So yeah, whatever. Anyway, listen, I know that we're in overtime. Let's wrap things up. I would just, we're going to have you, I think, back on at some point.
Anytime.
So we didn't even, and I just want to talk about how much stuff you have going on is because we didn't even get to talk about physical media or 4K or anything like that. And I'm not going to start that right now because we're talking for another hour.
Well, listen, like we're both big fans of that. You were talking about the Arrow release. Like I have that release. I'm one of these guys kind of like you that I'm not freaked out about spending $60 on a release. And a lot of people are like, why would you do that when you can just stream it? I mean, you don't fucking get it. Like it's
having the physical thing.
Yeah.
It's like when you want to watch it, it's there.
And there's so many companies now that are doing such great jobs with collector's editions, and they're really appealing obviously to the collector. I mean, the collector will want these things. And the reality is if you're a fan of something, you're willing to shell out for a good edition of it, picking up those, I don't know if you know those John Carpenter Studio Canal John Carpenter releases that they did.
Right.
They did The Thing, Prince of Darkness, Escape from New York, They Live. And I can't remember the last one, but there was like 5 of them that came out and they were like 4-disc editions, all this stuff, but they were only in the UK. I remember missing them the first time they came out. And when they did the one for The Thing, they re-released them and I got them all. And there's like 5 of them. I didn't care what they cost. I just wanted them, and that's the thing. Like I get it. Like, but if you don't get it, then people won't get it at all. Like they don't understand. It's just like it's clutter. What do you
how do you have room for all that stuff? Don't worry about it.
Find room.
Like I keep joking around with my spouse and saying, we need a bigger house. And she's like, you just want a bigger house so you can have more stuff. And I'm like, no, of course not. And she's like, yes. And I go, Yeah, that's true. That's actually
I keep looking
100%.
around. I'm like, all right, well, that cabinet's got half movies. What's in the other side of that cabinet? I can get rid of some of that shit to make room for it. And, you know.
So listen, I'm gonna just, I know you gotta go. I know you're a busy dude, like we've already established. And you've got a ton of stuff on the go. But listen, before I let you go, how can people like what can you tell everyone about what you have coming up next? And if people want to reach out to you and get in touch, how can they do that?
Well, I mean, right now it's, it's Rockman Power Hour. That's the main thing that's going on. New episodes every Friday. If you go to YouTube and you just keyword the Rockman Power Hour, you'll find the page. You just subscribe and you won't miss an episode. It's on all podcasting streaming platforms too. So if you like to listen to your podcasts rather than watching them, you can hear it there. That's the main thing right now. Obviously, I'm on show Monday to Friday. You can listen to it on the iHeartRadio app in Canada. And that's my main gig. That's my main love right now is obviously it's radio. I've been doing that forever and I love that gig. But between those two, I'm pretty busy, and then of course in 2022 or 2023, I'm going to make my Canadian film debut in a Black Fawn Films production. So that's, I guess that would be, besides that, I mean, we're good,
That's the only way we're going to get you back in the fucking program, right?
No, but you can find me on Instagram at The Real Jason Rockman. That's probably the easiest place to find me.
Awesome. Yeah, we've been posting photos all day. Thanks for supplying the content. Hopefully everyone you can check out the Rockman Power Hour on YouTube, as you mentioned, Spotify and Apple. And of course, please follow Jason Rockman at The Real Jason Rockman, along with Black Fawn Distro, of course, at Black Fawn Distro on the old Instagram. And listen, if you're listening to the program, we really appreciate it. Just remember to like, follow, share, and subscribe, both our program, Black Fawn Distro's Takeover Tuesday, as well as the Rockman Power Hour, hosted by my guest today, Jason Rockman. So just stay on after we get off the air, because I just want to catch up on a couple things. But thanks again for joining us. I know it's a big time commitment, so we really do appreciate it.
All good, man. Happy to do it.
And hopefully we can hang out in person over some coffee and some cigars maybe at some point.
We will have to do that
in Montreal. I'm sure the people you live with will be thrilled to know that we're coming over.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, until next time, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in to Black Fawn Distro's Takeover Tuesday. I'm your host Benner from Black Fawn Distro, and we will see you in a couple of weeks with our next guest. Make sure you check us out on Instagram to find out who that is. And until then, make yourself useful. Go check out the Rockman Power Hour on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Thanks again, Rockman. Really appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Bud. All right, man.
And that does it for another episode of Black Fawn Distro's Takeover Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, please remember to like, follow, share, and subscribe, and help us spread the word about the program and our incredible guests. If you're interested in grabbing some more information about Black Fawn distribution or want to check out our film titles and merchandise, you can find us online at blackfawndistribution.com. We'd also like to thank our sponsors: Wellington Brewery's Hellas Lager, Deadly Grounds Coffee, Twisted Teas, and of course, Black Fawn Distribution. Just a reminder, you can always catch Black Fawn Distro's Takeover Tuesday live on Facebook, YouTube, and our other social media platforms. Or pick up one of our retransmissions on any of the major streaming platforms. Until next time, I'm your host Benner from Black Fawn Distro, and we'll see you soon.